Okay, you see the headlines, right? The unicorn valuations, the founders on magazine covers, but behind that shiny picture, there's a much steeper price. So, in this explainer, we're going to get into the true, often hidden, cost of building a startup.
And this quote, man, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The real cost we're talking about here isn't just about the money you might lose. It's an invoice that gets paid with sleepless nights, with relationships that fall apart, and with your own mental health.
So first, we have to talk about the fantasy. Because the world of entrepreneurship we all see online, it's a carefully crafted story. It's a highlight reel that, conveniently leaves out all the struggle, the failure, and the despair. And this is where it gets kind of wild. The gap between what we perceive and what's actually happening is just staggering. We're sold these stories of meteoric rises, but the data shows something else entirely. For most, the story isn't one of struggling and then making it, it's just vanishing.
So you gotta ask, where does this myth even come from? Well, it's fueled by a whole ecosystem. Tech media needs those sensational headlines for clicks. VCs need to market their wins to attract more money. And founders on social media, they're often performing what's been called success theater. Everyone has a reason to show off the winners, which creates this huge survivorship bias, where the thousands of failures are just invisible.
And that myth, it sets a dangerous stage for the first and most obvious cost, the unbelievable financial pressure. And trust me, it goes way beyond just making payroll.
You might think the biggest line item is people, right? Salaries. But the reality is a series of hidden traps, these little money pits that can drain a startup's bank account with terrifying speed.
I mean, think about it for a second. Legal fees, just to get set up properly. For a lot of tech companies, staggering server costs that balloon with every new user. And then you have the ultimate startup trap, the catch-22. Investors want to see traction, but you need their money to build the thing that gets you that traction. It's a loop that forces founders to do things like max out their personal credit cards, borrow from family, and even sell off their own assets just to keep the lights on.
And if you think that's rough, just look at this number. Over 300. That's how many times Pandora's founder had to pitch his idea before he got funded. It just shows you, fundraising isn't a business transaction. It's a grueling war of attrition. And that constant financial strain, well, that's really just the price of admission for the real gauntlet, the psychological one.
And here's the crazy part. After a while, that crushing financial stress starts to feel normal. And that's when a deeper, more corrosive cost starts to creep in. This is the daily battle that happens inside a founder's own head.
Rejection basically becomes your new normal. And it's not just VCs saying no. It's customers who seem excited after a demo and then just ghost you. It's talented people you want to hire choosing another offer. It's even advisors who get you all pumped up and then completely disappear. Every single no feels personal, and it starts to chip away at how you see yourself.
This constant storm of rejection, combined with this impossible expectation that you have to be a genius in finance, HR, marketing, and engineering, well, it cultivates this crippling feeling we call imposter syndrome. You're literally sitting in a meeting, just terrified that someone is going to ask one more question that'll expose you as a total fraud who has no idea what they're doing.
And that fear, it creates this really destructive spiral. See, you start by projecting confidence you don't actually feel. That fuels the fear of being exposed, which leads to this insane over-preparation for everything, this analysis paralysis, which ultimately just causes you to delay key decisions and miss out on huge opportunities.
Now, this kind of intense internal pressure, it doesn't just stay at the office. It can't. It inevitably spills over, consuming every other part of a founder's life. Until, honestly, there's very little left. I mean, just look at the simple math of a 24-hour day. It becomes absolutely brutal. When work and just worrying about work take up 20 hours, what's left? What's left for sleep, for your health, for your family? Time becomes the most precious and, frankly, the most depleted resource you have.
And the impact this has on relationships is just devastating. It's not just about being physically absent all the time. It's the emotional absence. You're at the dinner table, but your mind is a million miles away, worrying about cash flow. That combination of financial stress and just being checked out emotionally, it puts an unbearable strain on the people you love the most.
And all the while, your own body becomes a silent casualty. Chronic stress isn't just a buzzword, it's a real physiological state. It leads to anxiety attacks, severe sleep deprivation, and this dangerous pattern of skipping doctor's appointments because the business always feels more urgent. Your health just becomes another resource to be burned for the sake of the company.
This quote, wow, it just captures that horrible, painful moment of failure. And that weight, it extends beyond you. When you have to lay people off, you're not just admitting that you lost money. You are grappling with the responsibility you had for their dreams, their mortgages, their families. It is a burden that most people, thankfully, never have to carry.
So when you actually tally it all up, the lost savings, the sleepless nights, the broken relationships, the years of your health you can never get back, what does the final bill really look like?
You have to strip away all the glamour and just look at the cold, hard math. For the vast majority of founders, the journey doesn't end with a billion-dollar exit. It ends with savings wiped out, credit scores damaged, and years of lost earning potential compared to if they just stayed in a stable career.
Look, the point of this explainer isn't to shatter anyone's dream. Not at all. It's to arm that dream with a dose of reality. The cost of a startup isn't just an investment of money. It's an investment of your entire self. So the real question every founder has to ask isn't, can my business afford this? It's, can I?